Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
4 seasons. One day at the end of the winter, 3 bark beetles knocked angrily on Leapy's door.
We wanted to dress up as princes for the party, but the 3 fleas are going to be princes. And that's not good. Our crowns and capes are all ready, but we can't wear them. Oh, please help us. Have you got any ideas what we could wear?
They all shouted at once.
Maybe you could be 3 snowballs because everything is covered in snow outside. It would be easy to make the costumes.
Oh, no. That's no good, Leapy. We'd melt the minute we walked into Balthazar's house. We'd turn into a puddle on the floor in no time at all.
Then you could go as cutlery, a knife, a fork and a spoon. You'd only need silver foil.
That's a super idea, Leapy. But we haven't got any silver foil. And we haven't got enough time before tomorrow to get some. We need to think of something simpler.
What do you say to a camel? That's perfect for the 3 of you. A head and 2 humps.
Yes, but the ants went as a camel last year, so it's been done. We need to think of something new. And what are you going as, Leapy?
The bark beetles asked.
I don't know. I still haven't decided.
The grasshopper girl hesitated.
Then the 4 of us could go together,
the boys suggested.
OK, but what should we go as? 4 flowers? Or 4 devils?
Maybe 4 stars or 4 planets,
the bark beetles listed.
That's not good enough. We need to go as something that there are only 4 of. Only 4, no more, no less. I know the perfect thing. The 4 seasons.
Yes, that's perfect,
the bark beetle said and jumped up and down.
There are 4 seasons. Leapy can be spring because that's girly. And we can dress up as summer, autumn and winter.
They all got hard to work. Leapy sewed herself a pink dress and decorated it with white flowers. She put a pink flower crown on her head. She looked so pretty that the bark beetles all blushed when they saw her. The 3 boys' costumes were soon finished. Summer wore green with a sun on his tummy and a leaf on his hat. Autumn wore all yellow, covered in colourful leaves. Winter's costume was blue, with lots and lots of snowflakes. The next day, they all set off to Balthazar's house for the fancy dress party. The bumblebee was dressed as a fireman. He warmly welcomed Leapy and the bark beetles.
The 4 seasons have arrived.
Eddie was dressed as a carrot, Bubble as a rocket, Betty as a drop of water, Rosita as a bird, Zephyr as a bus ticket, Morris as a sugar cube, Flutter as a banana, Dolly as a sweetie, and Charlie as a dog. The forest friends voted for the best costume. And of course, the 4 seasons won. Stanley came second with his rainbow costume. Third place went to the snails, to Berry and Sam, who came dressed as a train. Everybody was very happy, and the 3 fleas came to congratulate the winners.
Dolly say, what will we learn today?
Dolly's flower. One spring day, Dolly the ladybird was planting a flower in front of her house when Bubble the flower beetle appeared.
Will it grow big?
He asked Dolly.
Yes, it will grow into a big bush covered in flowers.
By the time summer arrived, the bush was covered in flowers. Everybody who passed by took a deep breath of the sweet scent.
It's beautiful,
said Flutter admiringly, and so did Berry, Balthazar, Stanley and Bubble. By the middle of the summer, the sun was at its hottest. Dolly was busy watering her flower when Christopher the Canary delivered an invitation to her door.
It's from Katie. She's invited me to go and visit her.
And she sounded very excited.
You go, Dolly, and I'll water your flower. Thank you, Bubble. I'll be away for 6 days. Please water my flower every day, otherwise it will dry out. I won't forget, don't worry,
Bubble promised. Bubble dutifully watered the flower the next day and the day after that, both morning and night. He passed Flutter's house on his way home. The butterfly girl was busy painting her roof yellow.
I'd like to paint my house too. I've got plenty of paint left. You can have some if you like. Thank you.
He started painting his house first thing the following morning. He was so busy painting that he forgot all about the flower for the next couple of days. He only remembered again when Dolly came home and knocked on his door in floods of tears.
Bubble, my flower's all dried out. Oh, I completely forgot,
the flower beetle exclaimed. The two of them stood next to the wilting plant. They watered it, but it made no difference. The bush's branches drooped sadly down and petals lay scattered on the ground. Rain is the only thing that can help here, Stanley the stag beetle announced. A real summer shower that soaks the soil. Come along and rain again, so the leaves grow big and strong and the branches good and long. Come and rain all night and day, come and rain so we can play. Come and rain and never stop. But it still did not rain. Bubble really wanted to cheer Dolly up. He thought hard about how he could make things better. Then he suddenly had an idea.
Dear Cloud, sprinkle a little rain on our forest. Dolly's very sad because her flower has dried out.
It's getting late and I'm sleepy. I'll do it tomorrow,
the cloud said drowsily, and with that the cloud closed its eyes and fell asleep. When Dolly stepped out of her little house, a fat drop of rain plopped into her hand.
It's raining! Hurry! It's raining, Berry! It's raining!
It rained more and more. Dolly and her friends had never been so happy to see it rain. The bush stretched a little and lifted up its drooping branches. It opened up its flowers once more and drank the rainwater up.
Look, it's not drooping its branches anymore. It's grown stronger again,
said the ladybird girl.
It's not only grown stronger, it's grown bigger.
Bubble gathered up handfuls of flower petals and flew up to the cloud.
Thank you.
And he sprinkled it all over with the scented petals.
Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
The Puppet Show. One sunny summer morning, Berry knocked hard on Dolly's door.
It's the puppet show today. Let's go and tell Flutter and Eddie too.
Berry and Dolly's first stop was at the pretty butterfly's house.
Wake up, Flutter. The fleas are going to give a puppet show. It's Snow White.
The little friends stopped in front of the potato beetle's house. Eddie, are you coming to see the puppet show? But Eddie didn't open his door. Hurry up, Eddie, we're going to be late, Berry shouted, but there was still no answer. Flutter gently turned the handle and popped her head inside. Are you still in your pyjamas, Eddie? Berry grumbled. Hurry up and get dressed. I'm not going. My tummy's covered in nasty bites. It really itches, Eddie sobbed. Let me have a look, Dolly told him. They're not bites. You've got chicken pox, the ladybird girl told her sickly friend. There's no need to be scared. I've had them already, and I had thousands of spots. I'll go and get Dr. Owl, Dolly announced. He'll know what to do. Dr. Owl soon arrived and took a good look at Eddie. It's definitely chickenpox. Chickenpox is contagious, Eddie. I'm afraid you won't be able to go to the puppet show. Contagious? Does that mean Berry, Dolly and Flutter are going to catch my chickenpox? No, don't worry. You can only catch chickenpox once, and they all had it last year. You mustn't scratch your spots. There'll be another puppet show, Berry reassured him. Don't be sad. You'll get better soon, Dolly smiled. Berry, Dolly and Flutter said goodbye to the little potato beetle and hurried off to see the puppet show. The puppet show was already set up in the meadow, and the puppeteers were 5 fleas. The curtains soon opened, and the puppet show began. They all watched the rest of the puppet show and clapped loudly at the end. The flea puppeteers came out from behind the tent and took a bow. It's such a shame that Eddie couldn't come with us, Dolly said with a sad smile. I'm sure he'd have really liked it. Why don't we put a puppet show on for him? Dolly suddenly suggested. That's a super idea, Dolly, Flutter said. And the 3 friends were soon all hard at work. Flutter drew dwarves, Dolly drew Snow White and the Prince, and Berry drew the Wicked Queen. Then they cut their drawings out and glued them onto sticks. When they were ready, they all crept under Eddie's window and tapped on the glass. The little potato beetle opened the window and looked out. Let the puppet show begin, Berry announced, and the 3 friends started the show. Thank you, he said. You're the best friends a beetle could have. Dr. Owl came back 10 days later, and all Eddie's spots had gone.
Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
Stanley Skates. It was a crispy winter day and Berry and Dolly were walking by the lake. It had frozen over and was covered by a very thick layer of ice. Come on, Dolly, let's slide on the ice, the little snail suggested. The ladybird happily agreed. Berry and Dolly stepped cautiously onto the ice. They held on tightly to each other and began to slide slowly around. They soon warmed up. They fell over every now and then, but when they did, they just laughed and carried on playing. Stanley the stag beetle stood and watched them. Stanley, you have to try this. Come and slide with us, it's so much fun, Berry said to his friend. Stanley was slightly scared but stepped onto the ice out of curiosity. "Ah!" he yelled as his feet slipped out from under him and he fell on his bottom. Berry and Dolly ran over to him. "We'll give you a hand, Stanley." The two friends stood either side of Stanley and guided him slowly forward. "Now we'll let go of you and you can try by yourself," Dolly told him. Then the snail and the ladybird let Stanley go. "Slow down, Stanley!" Dolly shouted, and Stanley tried to stop, but he stumbled and sped into a patch of prickly bushes. "Help! I'm full of prickles and my antler hurts. It hurts a lot." Dolly ran over quickly to take a look at the injured stag beetle. "Don't give up," Dolly said, and bandaged Stanley's painful antler with her dotty scarf. Just then, a beautiful girl beetle slid out onto the ice. She moved over the frozen surface of the water as gracefully as can be. "Wow, who are you?" "I'm Iris the ice beetle." "Hi, Iris. She's Dolly the ladybird, he's Stanley the stag beetle, and I'm Berry the snail," Berry said. "How do you manage to glide on the ice like that?" Stanley asked the stranger. "Because I'm wearing ice skates, special shoes that can slide on the ice," Iris replied. "You have to buckle them to your boots." "Did you make them yourself?" Berry asked curiously. "Yes, I made them. It's really not that difficult. I can make ice skates for all of you if you like." "Hooray!" the three friends shouted excitedly. Berry, Dolly, Stanley and Iris went to the forest together. Iris sorted through the branches lying on the ground and eventually found one good for the job. They all got to work, sawing and hammering in tiny nails. Everybody did their share. "They're finished," Iris eventually announced, and there were 3 pairs of brand new ice skates sitting on the table. Berry and Dolly felt a little bit nervous as they fastened their new ice skates on, but Stanley was the most worried. Berry and Dolly held onto each other and stepped out onto the ice. Iris helped Stanley. "Sliding on the ice is so much better with ice skates," Stanley laughed. Iris held Stanley's hand for a long time before he was happy to slide all on his own. He soon learned how to turn and start and stop. "I can do it! I can ice skate!" he announced at the end of a very long but happy day.
Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
The Kite. Berry the snail was still asleep when Dolly the ladybird knocked on his window. "Good morning, Berry. Let's make a kite." Dolly drew a kite and Berry cut it out. They decorated it with colourful ribbons and then they tied it to a long piece of string. "Let's see if it flies," Dolly said. They took each other's hand and set off to fly their kite. But no matter how hard the two of them tried, the kite just wouldn't fly. "I'll climb up this tree and try it from there. Maybe then it'll fly," Dolly explained. But the kite just fell to the ground again. All of a sudden, the wind blew up and carried the kite away, and took Dolly with it.
Berry! Help!
Berry climbed up the tree and grabbed Dolly's feet, but he couldn't pull her back, so now the two of them were flying. Balthazar the bee flew by. He caught hold of Berry's feet, but he couldn't pull the kite back either, so now the three of them were flying. Eddie the potato beetle was sitting on top of a pine tree. He caught Balthazar's feet, so now the four of them were flying.
Leapy! Help!
Balthazar cried to the grasshopper, who was just hopping by. Leapy caught Eddie's feet, so now the five of them were flying. The wind got stronger and stronger. Flutter the butterfly flew by. She caught Leapy's feet, so now the six of them were flying. Stanley the stag beetle and Zephyr the dragonfly looked at their friends in despair.
Oh dear, the wind's blowing us right into the forest.
The kite got tangled in the top of a tall tree, and they landed in the treetops. The wind died down, and the sun came out. Berry gave the ladybird a worried look.
Dolly, I can't fly. How am I going to get down from here? Don't worry, Berry. I'm sure we'll think of something.
I know what to do. Jump into this blanket, Berry. Don't be afraid. You won't hurt yourself.
Berry jumped down into the blanket and bounced back up in the air.
Look at me. This is fun. We want to try,
the others shouted. The little friends jumped up and down on the blanket until it got dark. Long after they were all in bed asleep, the wind blew up again and carried the kite far, far away.